Hey guys, today we're talking about a new storm called low pressure storm Cassidy. This one is super strong, as you could see. Um, and it's incredibly huge. Like, look at this. It stretches all the way from middle of Tokyo and all the way up to this area, like North Tokyo. So it's like really big. And so at this current moment, there was another storm. I think this was Brendan or Brandon. I don't know which one you say. People say. And at right now, it's not that strong. You can see. I was seeing on other stuff, but so you can see right now, it's not that strong. Like almost no kind of centralized winds, which is basically that no winds are really wrapping around it. It's kind of really disorganized. But we go to like 3 a.m. It's getting a little bit more organized. So we have to watch this. And then this is where it gets really, really bad for Japan. And it's a big thing. So if it goes, it's actually a bad thing for Onixtan, I meant. If it goes through this, then it'll get stronger once it gets to Onixtan. If it hits land, if it's just a little bit, it's fine, but if it hits like this, then that's bad. I mean, it's good. So, let's see. So you could see it's going very, very lightly into this land, but really it's not going to be a big deal. It goes like this, so it's really not going to weaken that much at that time. Actually, I'm confused. So, wait, is this the... Okay, this is what's confusing me, is what is the actual center here? Because look at this. So, we go into here, and then there's an opening up right there. So, I'm like, what? I guess it gets all disorganized a little bit. Oh, and then it goes to Kyushu. Okay, so this is going to be super bad for Onigatan because it didn't go through that much land. And now we're starting to get the pressure. So since it's still a little disorganized, there's like no winds. And so this is at 2 a.m. tomorrow. Here, let's go to this. So oh, it's actually okay, 2 a.m. tomorrow. So at 2 a.m. yeah, it's gonna be completely clear. Look at that. No winds at all. Like there's maybe like 10-mile-per-hour winds. There's literally like no winds. And so that's what's really weird about it. Although it only lasts for an hour, then it goes back to its stuff or whatever. It goes back to, okay, so 2 a.m. tomorrow. Okay. So, yeah, you could see there's gonna be some winds. I mean, there's gonna be some winds, but it's really not gonna be that much for this island at 2 a.m. Yeah, it's gonna be much worse at. Now you could see this is, I call up the closing up effect, where the central of the storm starts to close up onto the island. And so this is when it becomes really strong. And so this is now, it's in Europe now. URUP, okay? And so it's headed to here, and it's gonna be pretty good for about 2 hours. And then it starts coming in again, and also Onigatan starts feeling the effects at 5 a.m. but it really gets bad at 7 a.m. So also, when the storm does break away, there probably will still be something with this with this wind, and this will probably break out. I don't know yet, though. So, kind of a weird moving storm, if you see this. Like, you don't know where it's going. It's keep, like, turning and stuff like that. So, it's still highly uncertain. But by 10 a.m., going to be super strong winds. We're going to have winds of about 38 miles an hour, which is pretty strong, which is basically tropical storm force winds. It's basically just 2 miles short of tropical storm force winds. And there will be snow for this one. This will be all snow. And it's what? It's April 14th. Jeez. They're still having the snow. That's the thing. It takes forever to warm up, but here's the thing about Anakatan. It's really cold. Like, here's kind of what winter is like. Winter is from early December to late May. And if you're wondering why isn't it for normal stuff from like October, because it gets super cold until like June, shouldn't just be get cold at like August or September or something like that? Well, no, because it actually keeps super warm because they have a seasonal lag. And so basically it's super warm. It's warm from June to late November basically. It's really weird and really confusing. You should search it up if you guys are interested in that. Anyway, yeah, you could see, but these islands over here are getting pounded by these winds. And so Anakatan's getting into the effect for the southern part. Then at 11 a.m., it's probably showing its full force. Yeah, it's showing its full force of wind at 11 a.m. And it's going to be super strong. Like, here's what it looks like. And I actually, whoa, look at that. I'm definitely looking into that. Why is there such a huge storm? Like, that's a huge storm, I gotta admit. But still, this is here. On a world map, we could see this one. This is still really big. You could see this on a world map. You could also see this on the world map, but yeah. The biggest one here is probably this one, but still, this is still pretty big of a storm. And so we've had worse storms, of course, but this one we're mainly focused. We're confused. Usually there's rain, at least some rain, but this time I think it's all snow, which is really weird. If we look at the Anakatan 10-day weather for weather.com, it's kind of confusing because why? Okay, this isn't loading. Why isn't anything loading? Okay. You can see, why is it so cold? 29 degrees? It's not getting that warm. It's not getting warm at all. Like, it's so cloudy. There's almost no days of there's no days of this sunniness. The temperature felt is 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 7 degrees. It's crazy. If we look at the temperature, feels much colder. Even if it gets to 25, still gonna feel like 16. It's just because of these winds. These winds are crazy, and so it gets even worse. You could see we are gonna get a ton of snow from this though. No doubt about that. We're going to get a ton of snow. We're going to get 2 to 4 inches of snow, which is highly unusual for this time of the season. Even if it has a seasonal lag, we don't usually get this much snow at this time of year. Like no one in the northern hemisphere probably gets this much snow, except maybe like Mount Everest or something like that, or like a ski resort. You know how they're super high up in elevation, whatever. But Onakatan has some mountains, but that's, I mean, I'm still confused. But it's so confusing with these storms and with these islands. They all have seasonal lags, so they're still really cold. So I don't know. But anyway, the storm moves on, and it moves on the side just like any other storm. Boom, you know. And we can still get these really strong winds, and these are going to be 30-mile-an-hour winds that are going to continue for a long period of time. Now it's heading to a bigger city, like a much bigger city. It's heading to Petrovac-Kaminsky, which actually doesn't get the full effects. Which has this city right here has a population of 130,000 people, so it's a really big city. I mean, it's not like super big, but if you compare it to like, it's just a pretty big city. Like compared to Anchorage, it's about half the population of, no, a little bit more than half the population of Anchorage. But anyway, the winds still keep continuing. It's not like it's gonna stop, and it's not gonna stop for a while. It's gonna keep continuing on. This little shield, kind of shield of wind that doesn't let the calm of wind going through. And so then finally it kind of ends, but there's still some winds. And it's still really strong. It's still extremely strong after this. And actually it affects some of our Alaskan islands, and so we're going to look into that right now. So as you can see, right now the eye is right here. It's going to move on to the Alaskan islands, which are going to get pummeled by this storm too. I'm pretty sure it will be rain, though. Pretty sure it will be rain. Here's a strange thing about Onakatan. Onakatan is only... Okay, here's an example. So, if we drew a straight line, like a completely straight line, we would end up in France, where Paris is. And that's so weird because they have so warm summers. And then when you go on, you get to the like Minneapolis. You get to those areas, and you're like, what? I mean, Minneapolis is really cold in the winter, but right now it's not that cold, I don't think. I mean, Minneapolis, I mean, it's snowing, of course, but like, it's gonna get better. So they actually have a temperature change. I don't know why it's so okay. So this is still kind of like, now if we look at the average temperatures though, see how it gets to 60s? It's the 60s by the end of April. So it's really not that bad, I guess, compared to, you know, if we look at monthly, here's an example. This is why It's so confusing. So the average temperatures for June there is 79 degrees. The record high for Onigatan was about 80 or like 81, so basically that. But that's an average temperature for Minneapolis. But they're in the same. And then for July, 84. Here's a record high though. It's gotten to 108. It's just crazy because I don't know. I mean, it has gotten cold. Record low in July is 43 degrees. So it's really not that cold. Even if we go super far up, like if we go to like Barrow, Alaska, that's like way more north than that. It's still about the same temperature as Onigatan. And they've had the same exact record high, basically. They've had the same exact record high. And the average temperatures are pretty much like Onigatan, except the winter. It gets really cold in the winter. And so that's why it's so annoying. Anyway, let's see more on what happens on the storm. And so you could see it moves away and it eventually goes to our islands. And as you can see, it's gonna hit the islands pretty badly. And it eventually weakens. It's still gonna be pretty bad. And it goes so slow, it's literally not moving. Look at this. It is just turning in a circle, basically. Which is bad for these islands right here. Because they constantly have to deal with this. Look at this. So, let's look a couple of days back. Still, these islands are getting hit. This is at 12 p.m. on the 17th. They're still going to be hit. Still going to. Until like, here you go. Until 2 a.m. on the 20th. So 3 or 4 days of this. If you want to look at a forecast here, I'll just pick a random island like this. Just pick a random island and I'll show you. So the 20th, so the 17th is going to start 34 miles an hour. See how it still continues, 20, 29 miles per hour. If you look at the 14-day weather, it's crazy. It's just surprising how much Onigatan has to deal with this weather. Well, Clipperton is probably having the best time of their lives. You know, if we look at Clipperton, this is maybe Clipperton. Here, maybe we could search it. That's a different place. Here, let's find the. If we look at Clipperton Island, it's located where? Located 10 north. Oh. There you go. There you go. And Isozag. That's probably it. But for now, I'll just do that. Okay, so here's with on Clipperton though has storms all the time, so that's pretty bad. See, every single place in these islands with all these with everything in the TNR or the Northern Republic has to deal with some sort of weather. For example, let's do we could do anything. Saint. Okay, not that. If we look at St. Matthew Island. Yeah, if we look at St. Matthew Island, yep. Everything has to deal with the weather. See, St. Matthew's has to deal with cold temperatures. It's pretty similar to Onakatan. Onakatan has this kind of same pattern with this. You could see where I'm going with this. If we go to another place, if we go to like Isla Tiburon, it's too dry there. Way too dry. Shark Island, close enough. That's way too dry there. It's all these places have its own purpose basically. Like Isla Tiburon. Isla Tiburon has a lot of unique features. For example, if we have here, there's many cactuses there. There's a good harbor. Although we have to deal with this weather, it's still a good place. Although it's a good harbor, I meant it's a warm and cold place. People have to deal with the weather there. And so, and another thing, Isla Angel de la Guardia. Let's go right here. Example. Go here. Extremely hot there, no doubt. But the thing is, these places are such good harbors are extremely important. So this is why we really need these islands. If we go to Coronado, actually probably Coronado is probably the best place to go. I've got to admit that. Coronado is the best place. It's cold, a little, but not really. It's probably one of the best places to go in. No, but it's still warm. It's still incredibly warm. Look at this 96. 96 and hot days get to 105. But it gets cold too. It's no doubt that. It gets there's some days 1.6 frost days in December. Even 0.3 frost days in November. And even in March, there's still 0.1 days. So, like, but I think every island in the TNR has a purpose. And so, yeah. Thank you guys for watching.